What do you think life will look like 20 years from now? That was something I was really curious
Some
about.
ideas, some teachings.
And so, yes, I've done art all my life. I will always do it. But my
Section of art, social justice, and the human spirit.
That was allowing me to really express myself.
Hi, I'm Douglas Bell, and welcome to another episode of Ringing the Bell, where we are having real conversations with amazing artists who pour their creativity into celebrating the human spirit. Their stories will inspire, move, and transform the way you see the world. So I want to ask, have you seen spoken word poetry before? Have you seen spoken word poetry performed live and in person? Well, I finally had my opportunity. And today I want to bring to you the power of spoken word. Words that will cut, heal, uplift, and even transform. Our artist today is more than a poet. He is a truth teller. He is a soul searcher and a storyteller that takes life's raw moments and crafts them into an art that resonates deep within. With the voice he demands to be heard and verses that challenge the status quo, he speaks for those who feel unseen, unheard, and underestimated. Get ready to be inspired and moved and forever changed by my guest, Burton, aka PreechKid.
My skin is hot, my feet won't move, my bones keep shaking, I don't know what to do, I miss us kissing, what else were two boys to do? And I want to let you go, but my feet won't move, my feet won't move, my feet won't move. And he says, put it in the vault. A phrase I'm afraid I'm all too familiar with. You see, put it in the vault is a sentiment that me and my best friend created after our bodies got tired of not seeing each other. And at the time, we felt like nobody else should be able to see us, so we created a vault. Filled it with every close encounter we have ever had. The vault is filled with darkness. Got a beware of dog sign hanging on it. Got both our inner demons guarding the entrance, and we both have keys to this unholy place. And once in every blue moon, I get the courage to toss mine into Galveston Bay, which, mind you, is the 7th largest estuary in the world. Wikipedia moment. An estuary is a partially enclosed coastal body of water with one or more rivers or streams flowing into it. And somehow that key always seems to go from ocean floor missing to found in my back pocket time and time again. And he wear his key around his neck faithfully. And I don't know whether to be flattered or insulted that he chooses to keep the thing that we created to lock away parts of ourselves so close to his person. And I know we created it, but he wanted it. He made me think we needed a place to hide away all the love that we shared. He said it was love that we shared. He said no one had the right to gaze upon us while we gazed upon each other. And I believed him. He oversaw the construction. He excitedly handed me my key, and I just smiled and let him bridal style carry me into our brand new oasis, thinking I would be the only thing to quench his thirst, not seeing how hungry he'd become, that he had other keys to lock up other vaults. And the truth was, I knew I would be bound to this open relationship where he gets to go ravage the world and I'm left here singing, who was I to you? Was I just a very long day? Did I last too long? How could you throw this day away? I started memorizing the walls, getting used to kissing his shadow. I found that I know all the combinations to all the windows. I wonder, like I really wonder if he knows all the combinations to all the windows. I know I'm visited to this vault more than he is. I know where everything is, and I should, because I decorated it myself. I put our first kiss on the mantle. I moved everything we did in the bedroom to the basement. I made it beautiful for that nigga. But every time he looks at it, all I see in him is fire. And I'm burning for his attention. So yes, when he says put it in a vault, yes, I get scared. Yes, my bones go numb, because I know to him our home ain't nothing but some metal and some locks and me. Because my skin is hot, my feet won't move, my bones keep shaking, I don't know what to do. I miss us kissing. What else were two boys to do? And I want to let you go, but my feet won't move. My feet won't move. My feet won't move.
Hey, Philip.
Hey,
Man, it's good to see you.
thank you. It's good to be seen.
Yeah, that is, each time I hear you, each time I see you perform, boy, I tell you, you are impressive.
Thank you. I try to be. I try to
I mean,
be.
you are a showstopper.
Thank
so,
you.
So I got a question. PreechKid. How did you get that name?
Okay, so my daddy wanted me to be a preacher, but I knew early on that's not something I could do. But I was like, somewhere I know I was doing this poetry thing, and I knew I could take my ministry everywhere. So I can't sit on the church in the pulpit like every Sunday, but I can take my pulpit to every kind of room, any room that I go to. And PreechKid just kind of came because I was used to go by Old Soul because I feel like I had an old soul.
Okay.
But I don't know. My family called me Deacon Burton all the time growing up. So
were you preaching?
No, I was not. But I talked a lot, and they was just like, put that boy in church, put him in church. But yeah, PreechKid just kind of popped in my head, and it just stuck. Okay. And even now, people be like, "Oh, you gonna drop the kid? Because now you like 26, you about to be 27." I'm like, no, because I'm still a kid at heart,
Okay. So what inspired you to start doing spoken word?
I was bullied in school a lot. It might not look like it now because I look amazing, but I used to be a very short, bald, fat kid that was ashy, and nobody wanted to talk to me.
Okay.
And I just remember getting on stage one day and I had to do this reading for something, and everybody shut up. Like while I was talking, and I was like, oh, okay, this is how I get y'all to be quiet. All right, and so I did it again, and I wrote my first poem. A teacher had me, one of my, I think my communications teacher in high school was like, can you write this real quick? And I wrote a poem, and I performed it in front of the school, and I remember, I'll never forget, all of the kids that used to talk about me, bully me, all of that, they were standing up after I was done clapping. And they had to turn the lights on. And I looked out, and I will never forget that moment. And at that moment, I said, oh, I'm good. I was like, this is what I'm doing forever. I was like, is this shut all these people up? Like, I kid you, they would talk so much mess about, but it shut them up when I opened my mouth and started singing and doing my poems. So I was like, I'm going to just keep doing this so people can keep shutting up.
Wow. So, I guess the next question in my mind was kind of like, how has doing spoken word changed your life? Well, that's a perfect example of how it was protection.
Yes, it was.
It was protection. As in a lot of ways, is it still like that?
I think now I've done it so much, and it's kind of it was really a confidence boost when I was younger. It was just making me feel like I had a voice at a time where I felt like I didn't. Now I'm doing it really for real for other people. I still do it for myself. I mean, when I write for me, but now I'm more like concerned with making other people feel the same way I felt on that stage. Right. When them lights came up and I saw everybody out there, I felt seen. And I was like 15 years old, and that was the first time I felt looked at. And so now with my art, I think I really just want everybody to feel like that, because I feel like everybody deserves to be looked at. Everybody deserves to be heard and seen. And there are just so many stories that don't get told.
Right.
So
and you've just found your ways to do it.
Yeah, to do it. And it be all right sometimes. Now, my voice don't work with me all the time.
Well,
it might not, I don't know.
That's
but
that's
I be
just
trying.
the way that goes. Yeah, we can't get around that. So how long have you been performing now?
I've been doing it since I was 15 years old. That was my first ever performance for real. I've been doing it professionally for the last 5 years since I got out of college. I got out of college in 2020. I've been actually doing it professionally for the last 5 years.
Okay. So are you able to articulate a creative process in which you create that next spoken word poem? Is there a process?
Yeah, I always start with the song. I'm a singing. People always laugh at me. I'm a singing poet. Music is always rooted in my poetry.
Well, I would have to
always.
say that's really the part that grabbed me.
Yeah.
Your transition between the singing
Yeah.
and back to that is really what. The first time I saw you, we met at Truth Project event.
Heart and Soul. It was Heart and Soul.
Heart and Soul, and I was walking somewhere, and it was your singing that made me turn around and made me look toward the stage. And I was like, who is that? Okay, so back to your creative process. Your creative, and in that statement, that question too, your creative process, are you doing it for the stage as well? Or is it just really just from a place of just, someone maybe reading it? But yeah, how does that work into it as well?
Because I feel like there are different types of poetry. How I attack my poetry is always performance based, just because I have the intent to perform whatever I write. So I do also feel like I write to where you can read it on a written page, and it's still right. Like I have a poetry book that I'm working on, and a lot of the poems that I do in my slam life, I actually also write in my regular, my regular poetry. I feel like if you read my poems versus you listening to them versus you seeing me, I feel like it's all the same. But I do love to add the songs in there, just because is like you said, it's going to get your attention. Correct. It's going to make you stop.
Correct.
Because a lot of the time, sometimes when people are doing poetry, it's kind of easy to check out. So the song always snaps the people in and makes them listen.
And you have a beautiful voice too.
Thank you. I'm trying. Mind you, first off, a little side note, people told me I couldn't sing. People told me not to sing. I had a choir teacher. She was like, mouth the words, like, baby, that ain't your gift. My mama would be like, oh, baby, that ain't your gift. She's like, you're an actor, you're a good writer, but you can't sing, so don't try. And I never let that stop me, and I just kept on, I just kept on going. And now people be paying me sometimes.
No,
so it's really cool.
You. That's
really
interesting. Well, I didn't expect you to give me that side note. Okay, that's interesting. Here's a good question. If you could describe your poetry in 3 words, what would they be?
I would say honest, because all of my work is like, even if it doesn't come from like my personal background, whatever I write is always honest, it's real, and it's probably got me in some trouble sometimes because it's probably been too honest. Loud, whatever I do, when I was 15 years old, I was on that stage, I vowed to myself I would be loud. Okay. So my poetry is always loud. And I guess last word, probably a story, because all of my poems are rooted in, like I said, they're rooted in music. All of my poetry is rooted in some story. It's funny, earlier when you said a truth teller, I thought that's so funny, because I always say I'm a storyteller, because I just love telling stories. Especially like I said earlier, stories that you traditionally will not hear. Like you're not gonna hear about 2 boys kissing, and one of the boys really got a girlfriend on the side and he's leading the other boy on. You don't hear that a lot, but that happens in my community always. So why can't we be able to see that in a movie, or hear that in a poem, or hear it in a song?
Right.
That's why I really, really love to use my art to show just the everyday life of my community. I really, really do.
I like that. I for on your feet, 3 answers. You did 3 words. You did good with that. Okay, so loud, honest, and truthful.
Yeah.
I like that. So now you've been performing now professionally about 5 years, and I saw maybe 10 years of just being out being seen in spoken word. So what is your most memorable reaction?
Oh, my most memorable reaction
to a performance.
To like something that I did. Oh, I did this. So a lot of my audiences are us, you know, my color. But I did this talent show once, and I was the only person of color out there, and I was a little
performing
scared.
or in the audience or both.
No, I was the only one there. Like, I was the only one of it because I used to do speech and debate in college.
Okay.
So I was the only one of us there, and I performed this piece. And this girl comes up now, mind you, I'm thinking I'm about to lose. These people can't connect with none of this, like, whatever. But I came up doing my thing. This girl walks up to me. This white girl, she walked up to me, like sobbing. I will never forget. She was reaching out to me. And I was like, girl, and so I held her, and she was just like, she was like, oh my gosh, like I felt the same way all the time. Like she was like, you gave me like, oh my, and I was like, oh, you resonate with this girl? I was like, oh, okay, I might win. I ain't win. But I was like, oh, okay. But that was just the most, I think that was one of the first times where I was like, oh, my words like can really do something to somebody.
Right.
But then that also showed, because I was younger, I think I was maybe like 16, 17.
Okay.
But I think that also taught me be mindful of what you're up on this stage saying, because you never know
Correct.
who you're helping or hurting.
Correct.
You know?
Correct. Well, but I also think too, that's why it's also important to get back to your 3 words, also to be honest as well too, because to your point, if you weren't honest and you maybe pulled back some way, maybe you wouldn't have reached that one person.
And you never know.
Yeah,
you
so,
never know.
you know,
And it's
so we've
always
got to
about
take-
reaching them.
yeah,
it's
we've
always,
got to take the risk
It's
to be
always,
honest.
man, it's always about, when I, like I know, I love when people tell me I'm amazing. I love when people tell me I have a great voice. I do. I'm not going to lie. I do. I'm a leader. I love it. But one thing I really get such satisfaction is when people, like after I'm done talking or after I'm done performing, and people just look different than when they looked before I started talking. Mm-hmm. Because that means I changed you in some way, I affected you in some way. And if I can make you feel something, even if you don't like it, even if I made you mad, I pissed you off, I made you feel something. And I feel like I have been put on this earth to make people feel something. And no matter what that is, you know, if you listen to my album and you jigging with it, you like it, it makes you happy. I've had straight men, like my album has like a couple of songs where I talk about the gay black experience. And I've had men who are in the army, straight, like the straightest possible, whatever. They've come to me saying, oh my God, like I can really vibe with that. Like, dang, I know what that feels. That made me feel so good because I realized, A, I was helping people, and B, anybody can connect with any story, no matter what.
Right. So for someone who is new to spoken word, what's one of the first steps in, what's your thoughts around, how does that individual start in spoken word? You know, whether it be creating it, whether it be, once it's created, how do you market? How do you put yourself out there in spoken word?
For me, I think I would say it always starts with who you are, what you want to talk about. I feel like everybody's a poet. I'm that person. I feel like every single person is a poet. Because everybody has a story to tell.
Okay.
And a poem is nothing but a story.
Okay.
So I feel like everybody's a poet. I think it just gets to the point of who is kind of brave enough to tell that story. And I feel like if you are brave enough to tell your story, you're a poet. Like you can tell it. I think just being honest about it, because people can sense when you are not genuine. Mm-hmm. Like we as humans, we can sense when something. That's why we know when a movie is bad. We know when a movie is bad because the acting is bad. The acting is bad because they don't believe it. They're not genuine. Okay. So I feel like if you're starting poetry, if you're like, oh, I want to do this, like, oh, I want to go up on stage. Just the best advice I can give is just being honest. Talking real stuff. I feel like if you're writing about things you don't know about, it's gonna show.
Okay.
It's gonna show.
Yeah.
If you are writing about something that you do have no idea about, it's gonna show in the work. Mm-hmm. So just being honest, getting yourself out there. Well, my little brother, he just turned 20. He just started doing spoken word. So he's out in the scene now, and now I let him go to open mics by himself. I don't follow him there no more. But just getting out there more and more, just talking. Because the more you're on stage, the more you get comfortable, the more you learn how to read. Because it's an art to it. You have to, because you can't just get on stage. I do say everybody is a poet, but it does take a little.
Oh, yeah.
It takes a little finesse.
It's a craft.
It's a craft that you have to work at. You can't just wake up and be like, "Ooh, bam, I'm about to be, Pulitzer Prize winner." That don't work like that. So just if you're trying to get into it, I would just say practice, practice, practice. I used to be in my room at like 3 a.m. singing. Like singing. My mom would be so mad. I'm waking the whole house up, but I wouldn't stop, and I kept it going. And now people literally be paying me to sing. So it's crazy. Like when I tell you, just working at it, and you'll get there.
So let me ask this real quick. But technically, in the structure of is this different in the way a general poem is structured technically, or does this deviate from that?
I personally, because like I said, I came from a background of speech and debate. So like I did prose, poetry, like that, like the actual, you got the binder and
Right.
you're reading these like Oscar Wilde poems, or, all of these. I personally found that there's no structure. There's not this is how you write a poem. I feel like if you try to follow that structure, you're going to start sounding like Oscar Wilde. You're gonna sound like that.
Okay.
To me, it doesn't come off. If you're sitting down and you're like, okay, like I got to make sure I have this. Like I just feel like it doesn't come off as there's no proper way to do it.
So here you're saying you have the ability to start. I won't say deviating, but you can loosen up on the rules here.
I genuinely feel like there are no rules. Now, if you ask another poet, they might have a different answer.
Right.
But for me, and it's since the art form is freeing to me, so I don't feel like there should be any kind of keep like locks on it. Like, oh, you can't say like you like I don't ever go to an open mic and I'm like, oh, he started his poem like that. Oh no. He started his poem with an adjective. No, you can't. That's unheard of. You can't do. I'm not like that. Like I said, the art form is so freeing for the artist and for the audience, and I feel like to put caps on it or to try to gatekeep it any kind of way, for me, is just not. That's just not how you. I don't feel like that should be a thing. I feel like everybody should have access to it. I feel like take a poetry class is also good. Poetry doesn't have to rhyme.
Can you take poetry classes here in Houston?
I'm sure there are people. I know. Right about now is an entity here in Houston that does like poetry workshops and stuff like that. So, but I mean, get to know other poets. The best advice I really can give: go to open mics and meet other poets, because 9 times out of 10, you're gonna find other open mics to go to. You're gonna realize ways to write that you didn't even think about. It's gonna inspire you so much. I feel like the most I've been inspired is when I'm in front of other artists. When I'm watching other artists perform, and then somebody will do this like full 10-minute poem, and I'll hear one word that, like they said the word bone, and for some reason I can't get the word bone out of my head. Then I go home and I write this whole poem based off of the word bone. So for me, like the best thing that you can do is watch other people. I grew up like watching Ebony Stewart, Terry on the Tank Ball from Tank in the Bank, like those people who are poets. It just kind of inspires you to be like, dang, like I could do that. I think just watch poetry, just any kind. I went on YouTube,
Okay, so we have YouTube to watch. Now here regarding seeing live poetry, where can I go here in Houston to see it?
There are a couple of big ones. The biggest one is right now in Houston. It is at Avant Garden. I believe it was off Westheimer, kind of like in that area. That's a really, really big one. If you're trying to just get into the poetry scene, I say go to Right About Now, just because that way you get to meet like other poets. And you get locked in, and then you find this one poet who also has an open mic over here. You find this poet who also they do an open mic on Tuesday. These ones do one on Thursday. I just say get out there and just meet people and talk, because the information, like, it's like the landscape is out there. Like there's a huge poetry community in Houston. Like there really is
a big poetry.
It's a big. I'm on a slam team in Houston. Houston, I think, has about 3 slam teams that get sent to like competitions, and so I've been to. I think the last one we just did back in June of last year. My team, we did really, really well. It was a really good time. But yeah, just go out there. I think it's out there in Houston. Like, a lot of people don't think it's a lot of poetry in Houston, but trust me, it's like something to do. If you are a lot tapped into it, there's something to do like every single day. I feel like.
Well, I want to say, Philip, thanks for coming. PreechKid, thanks for coming
Thank
to
you. Thank
sit
you.
with me.
Thank you.
So where can people find you on social media?
So you can find me on Instagram at preach.write.sang. That's preach with 2 E's and not an A. So my name is PreechKid with 2 E's is not an A. So that's PREECH .write WRITE .sang, because I be singing sometimes on occasion when my voice work for me. And I'm also on TikTok, PreechKid, so just PREECHKID, and it should be PreechKid Network on TikTok and YouTube. And I got an album out. You know, you got an album out. Spotify, Apple Music, all of those things. It's called No One Is Coming. So also check that out. It's just PreechKid. If you just type it in, all of my stuff should come on up. But yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll be a lot of places. And then if you're really trying to get in touch with me, just hit me up. Let me know. Trust me, I'm always available.
All righty. Thank you for coming.
Thank you so much.
And thank you for being with us today on Ringing the Bell. If this conversation spoke to you, don't keep it to yourself. Drop a comment below and let us know your favorite part of the interview, or share what poetry means to you. Hey, and if it inspired you, hit the like button and share this video with someone who needs to hear it. Let's keep the power of words alive by spreading these stories far and wide. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notifications so you'll never miss a beat.